Welcome. Tonight's story follows a plague doctor who doesn't heal so much as endure. Cloaked in black, masked in myth, and paid in coin. In a city drowning in sickness and superstition, he walks the alleys not to save lives, but to survive them. This is not a tale of heroes. This is a tale of masks, money, and the quiet business of watching others die first. In the 14th century, death came quickly, and stayed for generations. They called it the Great Mortality. Today, we know it as the Black Death. It wasn't a single illness, but a swarm of them. Some caused swelling in the neck. Others turned lungs into water. Some just stopped the heart without warning. Most of the time, people died within 3 days. There was no cure. No understanding. Only blame. Cast on the poor, the foreign, the unlucky, or the already sick. Cities emptied. Villages vanished. Bells rang until there was no one left to hear them. And out of this silence came a figure. Wrapped in a black cloak, face hidden by a mask shaped like a bird's beak, filled with herbs meant to protect him from the air. The plague doctor. He wasn't always a real doctor. Often, he was whoever could afford the costume, or whoever was willing to go where others would not. He carried a cane to keep distance, a pouch for payment, a certificate of training, forged, more often than not. Some tried to help. Others just tried to survive. Most learned to lie well enough to do both. And so the mask became more than protection. It became theater. It became power. It became a way to keep walking, even as the world fell apart. You wake with the taste of bad wine and candle smoke sitting thick at the back of your throat. The shutters rattle, not from wind, but from the slow breathing of a city that's no longer sure it wants to live. The attic is barely warmer than the street below, even though you've stuffed every crack with waxed rags and hope that dried up weeks ago. Beneath your mattress, the floor creaks under the weight of coin you no longer count and guilt you've stopped naming. Your robe hangs where you left it. You don't notice the smell anymore. Others do. The mask sits on the chair, shaped like a bird with its long beak packed with old dried herbs like lavender, mint, and thyme that were once meant to block the smell of death, but now carry nothing but dust and memory. You sit on the edge of the bed, rolling your shoulders while you flex your cold toes inside damp stockings. There's no washing, no praying, and no point opening the ledger when the ink is low. The pages are full, and the names have long outnumbered your will to write them. You stand and fasten the robe, strapping the mask over your face as the leather pulls against your skin and the glass fogs with each slow breath. There's money to be made. And you're not dead yet. The rain has stopped, but the city still leaks. You step over a dead butcher lying face down in the street, bloated, with his hand locked tight around a string of sausages like a saint gripping a rosary. You don't stop because he didn't pay in advance. Old Man Thibault's door swings open after 2 knocks. Not because someone answers, but because the hinge has given up. The door moans like it wants to be left alone. Inside, it stinks. Burned soup, wet straw, and something sweeter underneath. A sugar rot that makes your nose burn. A candle stub fights for its life beside the bed. Flies orbit it like worshippers. Thibault is laid out on his cot, arms folded, tongue black, eyes open to a ceiling that's more whole than wood. His daughter stands in the corner. Her hands shake. Her apron is marked with flour and tears. He was fine yesterday, she whispers. Fed the goat this morning. The goat tugs at your robe. You push it away with your boot. She gives you a coin before you speak. Not out of trust. Out of fear. Her eyes beg through the mask. You glance at the sores rising up her father's neck. You don't need to lean in. Not contagious, you say, the words dry inside the mask. She lets out a sound. Part relief, part disbelief, part something else she doesn't name. You sign the paper and pocket the coin. Hand her a cloth pouch filled with cloves and nothing, and tell her to keep it near the bed. She holds it like it might save her while you walk out before the rats get there. The mayor's cousin stands behind a cloth soaked in rose water. Her house smells like boiled flowers and smoke. The windows are shut, the air too thick. Everything shines like it's been scrubbed until it begged for mercy. The servant girl lies on a cushioned chair, too small to be resting on something so fine. Her chest rises fast. Her fingers twitch like they're trying to escape her skin. She was cleaning the basement, the cousin says. Then came the fever. Then the swelling. But it's not the plague. It can't be. You walk to the girl, moving slow while adjust your gloves and lowering the mask toward her neck. Breathe in and click your tongue just enough to make it look like you're doing something. You already know. From your bag, you pull a small bottle. A liquid lye that smells sharp and feels like heat going down. With rest and this tonic, she might recover. You say. The cousin drops 3 coins into your glove. You feel their weight before you hear them. You pass her the vial and a small pouch that reeks of garlic and fake safety. The girl will not see the sun again. The cousin nods once. God bless you, doctor. You bow your head. Already backing toward the door. Keep her warm, you say. You leave. The smell of roses follows you out. You stand at the edge of the market, beside a broken well and a man selling onions from a boot. The smell of smoke, wet wool, and cheap promises hangs heavy in the air. You climb onto a crate that once held salted fish. Now it holds your voice. You raise your voice above the noise of carts and coughing, calling out your usual line. The doctor's elixir, good for balance, clear air, strong stomachs, and safer homes. The sound of a barking dog cuts through the market as someone spits nearby, while a woman pulls her shawl closer and a child stops in place, staring. You hold up a bottle, letting the glass catch a rare bit of sun like it's holy light. Inside, wine, vinegar, thyme, and just enough garlic to sting. It burns the throat, fogs the head, and makes people feel like something is working. A woman with a deep cough buys 2. Her hands shake as she passes you the coins. A butcher takes 6. Doesn't ask what's in them. He just mutters about his workers dropping too fast to clean the tools. A boy steals one and you see him, but you let him. You watch the crowd drink. One grimaces. Another closes their eyes. And someone falls to their knees in prayer, while you remain still, standing tall with your mask shining, not because you've told the truth, but because you've always looked like you had one. You kneel beside a boy no older than 7. He lies curled on a straw mat, ribs sharp beneath skin stretched too thin, breath coming quick and shallow, like a fire that knows it's out of wood. His mother grabs your sleeve with flour-caked fingers. Her apron is soaked through, and it isn't water. Her eyes search your mask like it might offer mercy. You helped my neighbor's boy, she says. You remember that boy. Left behind the chapel, blue and swollen. She doesn't know. Yes, you lie. Quiet. Flat. The boy's lips are dry, his skin burning. You rest a gloved hand on his forehead and sigh in a way that sounds like concern. It's not. You reach for your belt. Pull out a bottle, just like the others. This one has a little more wine. That's all. She reaches into her apron and pulls out a single silver button. It's all I have, she says. You take it. You hand her the bottle and tell her what to do. Keep him warm. Let him sleep. Pray. The usual words. She thanks you like you saved him. You leave with the button still in your glove, and the sound of her crying behind you. When you return to your attic, someone's waiting. A merchant, standing in your only chair, sweat dampening the powder on his face. My wife, he says. She's fine. Just a cough. But we have to leave the city. And the guards. They won't. You raise a hand. Let me see her. She's behind him. Pale, swaying, barely able to stand. Her lips are dark. Her breath is shallow. You look. You nod. 5 crowns. He flinches. That's theft. You say nothing. Just open your satchel and lay out a blank form. He gives you 4 crowns and a bottle of brandy. He thinks he's won. You go through the motions. Check her pulse. Look into her eyes. She's already on the way out. You stamp the paper anyway. She'll be fine, you say. She smiles. Weak. She believes you. After they leave, you burn your gloves. The brandy is good. You drink half without sitting down. You don't log the visit. You tell yourself it wasn't your fault. Then you drink the rest. The bread is hard. The cheese is gray. You cut it with a scalpel you should have thrown away weeks ago. The wine is the same brandy the merchant gave you. You don't taste it anymore. The candle on the table flickers. The mask sits across from you, watching. Fogged lenses. Leather creased with your breath. Outside, a bell rings. Or maybe it's your ears. You think about the widow who kissed your glove. The boy in the alley. The girl you swore would wake up. For a brief second, something stirs in your chest. Not guilt exactly, but something smaller, quieter, like the memory of caring too long ago to matter. You drink again, eyes fixed on the mask across from you. Still watching, always watching, saying nothing. The mayor orders another street closed. And just like that, you have work. Doors to mark, families to sort, coin to collect in exchange for certainty you don't believe in. You walk with your list in one hand and a stick of chalk in the other, the paper smudged from your gloves and the drizzle that never really stops. Names blur. Instructions fade. The fear doesn't. At one door, a man opens quickly, his hands shaking, his eyes already begging before he speaks. It's not plague, he says, voice tight. She's just sick from the cold. The cellar's damp. That's all. You follow him inside. The house smells of boiled linens and old wood. In the corner, beneath too many blankets, his wife lies curled and shining with sweat, her breath fast and uneven. You've seen it before, too many times to pretend you haven't. He holds out a ring. Thin, worn, a green stone trying to pass for something more. You take it without a word. Back outside, you walk to the neighbor's house. Shutters closed, no sign of life. And make the mark on their door instead. The man cries behind you. He doesn't thank you. But he doesn't stop you either. As you leave, you cough into your glove. Twice. Maybe 3 times. Just dust, you tell yourself, and keep walking. That night, your body lies still, but your mind wanders where you haven't been in years. A field of tall grass, A warm sky overhead, the hum of bees, and the creak of a wooden gate. There is bread cooling on a windowsill. A dog asleep under a tree. Someone laughs, though you never see who. You aren't wearing a mask. You have hands, bare and clean, and they hold nothing. You wake to gray light and the familiar ache behind your eyes. The attic smells like wax, wet leather, and the slow burn of the city settling into itself. You don't move for a while. Then you do. Slowly, like someone remembering how. You stretch your neck, hear the pop in your spine, and start dressing again. The robe clings to yesterday's damp. The gloves pull tight. The mask slides into place with a sound you hate more each day. There is coin to be made, and dreams don't pay for wine. You don't confess in a church. Not anymore. The last priest you saw coughed blood onto the pulpit mid-sermon and fell backward like a door unlatched. This confession happens beside a cart half filled with the day's dead. On top lies a woman who once called your name from a doorway, asking for water. You had none to give, or didn't want to stop. Now her body lies still, one arm bent beneath her, as if she'd been reaching for something. You lean down, close enough for the smell to stick to your thoughts, and whisper, "I'm sorry." The undertaker, a man with ash on his boots and nothing in his eyes, doesn't comment. He keeps working. You straighten up, clear your throat, and mutter something about soul release, a phrase that once meant something to someone. He nods without looking. You walk away quickly, faster than you mean to, your steps loud on the wet stones. You don't look back. You just keep going, because stopping means thinking, and thinking means remembering. And remembering, that's what kills you. The rain finds you in an alley between two homes with no glass left in their windows. Cold, heavy, and sharp at the edges, it slips through the seams of your robe and down your spine, soaking you with its own kind of judgment. You slip under the slanted roof of an old stable. The horses are long gone. What's left is straw blackened with mold, wood half collapsed, and a silence that feels like it's waiting for you. A girl sits in the far corner. Thin. Quiet. Her face is streaked with dirt, but her eyes are steady. She doesn't move when you enter. She doesn't speak. Just watches. You give her a nod, not sure what else there is. She gives nothing back. The rain taps its rhythm overhead as you sit on a crate that smells like mildew and memory. You pull the last crust of bread from your bag and hand it over. She doesn't eat it. Just holds it in her lap with both hands, as if warmth might be enough. You pass her your final vial, the one you keep for important names and large bribes, and watch her drink it down without asking what it is. She winces, coughs once, then nods. You don't ask why you gave it to her. You're not sure you'd like the answer. You leave before she starts coughing again. The chamber is warm. Too warm. Filled with the scent of rose oil, dust, and the smug comfort of men who think walls will keep the plague from noticing them. They sit in a half circle, powdered wigs and powdered faces, lips pursed like they've just tasted something sour. They don't look at you. They look at the mask. The robe. The image of authority they think they've bought. Reports. One says, without looking up. And projections. You unroll a sheet of blank parchment and hold it like scripture. The worst is behind us, you say. The death curve bends. The spread slows. They nod before you finish. One scribbles something with a feathered pen. Another sips from a silver cup shaped like a swan. None ask what death curve means. You speak of ratios, of herbal deployment, of prayer schedules and blessed cloth. You speak with your hands. You speak with your tone. You give them the show. They don't want facts. They want order. One leans forward and slips a pouch into your satchel. For your efforts, he says. It's heavy. Another suggests incense be doubled in the chapel district. You nod and bow. None ask about the people who lit the fires, or the ones who stacked the bodies, or the girls coughing in corners with no one left to name them. You step into the street again. The air outside smells like something trying to live. You laugh, just once, soft and sharp, and pull your robe tighter around your shoulders. You leave with more than you came with, but less than you need. You sit with a blank sheet of parchment in front of you, and a quill that hasn't touched ink in days, maybe weeks. You're not sure anymore. The candle is low, the air is cold, and the quiet of the attic presses against your ears like hands that want to keep you still. This letter is meant for your sister, or someone who used to be her. You remember her laugh, the bread she used to bake, the way she scraped leftover wax into new candles as if light could be made from scraps. She lives far from this city, far from this rot. You haven't written in months. You've tried, but there's never anything worth saying. You could start with, I'm alive, though that feels dishonest. You could say, I've helped people, but that would be a lie. You could write, I'm scared, but you've worn the mask too long to know what that really means anymore. The quill hovers. You dip it. You write her name. Then stop. The words don't follow. Not because they're hard, but because they don't matter. You tear the page. Fold the halves together like the hands of a corpse and place them in the hearth. The flame flares once, bright and soft, then disappears. She wouldn't understand. And deep down, you hope she never does. The city groans in its sleep, the way a body does when the pain stops, but the damage remains. The bells don't mourn anymore. They just mark the hour. A routine of grief. You lie on your cot, still wearing your boots. The mask hangs above like a relic from a religion no one believes in. The mattress is thin. The straw is damp. You've hidden a coin under your pillow. Not for luck, just out of habit. You start to count things. The gold beneath the floorboards. The buttons. The rings. The items traded in fear and false hope. Then come the names. The ones you didn't write down. The ones you couldn't. The ones you didn't want to remember. You count until the numbers lose shape. You look up at the rafters, tracing cracks in the wood. One looks like a crow. Another like a knife. You don't move. You don't speak. You think of the girl in the stable, the woman on the cart, the boy you gave a bottle to. You think of them as if it might mean something. You reach for the wine. The bottle is empty. You already knew that. The attic shifts with the wind. The walls groan. And, eventually, sleep finds you. Not like a blanket or a blessing, but like everything else here, without asking, and without mercy. You try to work the next day, slipping the mask over your face, tightening the straps like always, walking the usual route. But the city doesn't look at you the same way anymore. A butcher laughs as you pass. Back again? He says, wiping blood from his hands. You gave my wife lilac, not lavender. Don't think I wouldn't notice. A woman tosses a vial at your boots and turns away. That's not what you gave me last time, she says. Last time it worked. You don't correct her. Because you can't. You weren't the one who saw her last time. By the chapel steps, a boy selling prayers calls out to no one in particular. 2 doctors now. One for coins. One for cures. The people murmur. Not loud, but enough. That evening, no one answers their doors. Not even the dying. You sit in the attic, still in full garb, gloves half pulled from your fingers, the city pressing in through the cracks of your window like fog laced with memory. The mask stares back from the chair. And you wonder if he's out there now. The other you. Bending down beside someone's child, whispering the same words you've whispered for months, only somehow making them sound real. You don't sleep. You listen. And then, before the light returns, you decide to find him. Not to confront. Not yet. Just to follow. You linger by the market square. Wait by the chapel. Drift through alleyways like smoke. Slip a bottle of wine into the hand of a beggar and ask if he's seen another mask. He went north, the man says, slurring. Gave me coin, too. Said I'd earned it. You never give beggars coin. You follow what scraps you can until you see him, standing outside a sick house. Not a chapel, not a noble's home, just a crumbling building with more moaning than walls. He's stepping out as you arrive. His mask is newer. His robe cleaner. The people around him part like he's sunlight. He sees you. He stops. Nods once. Then, without a word, he motions for you to follow. You do. Inside, it's worse than you imagined. The smell of sickness past saving. Bodies curled on filthy cots. Some weep. Some stare. One hums a hymn with no tune. He kneels beside a boy, no older than 10, and places something small in the child's palm. Not a vial, but a carved bit of bone, polished smooth. The boy clutches it like he's holding life itself. You step closer. Quietly. You think that helps? He doesn't turn to look. No, he says. But it helps him feel helped. You wait. The words settle like dust. So what are you now? You ask. A priest? I'm whatever they need, he says, rising to face you. There's something in your chest. Not rage. Not fear. Something slower. Heavier. It settles like water in your lungs. Jealousy. They were dying anyway, he says. At least this way. They believe someone gave a damn. You look at the room again. At the boy with the bone. At the others who stare at him the way people used to look at you. You walk out without another word. The next morning, a letter waits for you. No sender. Just a seal you don't recognize. It's from the city clerk. A formal complaint. A call for review. You laugh. Or try to. But it comes out dry. You know where it started. Not from a patient. Not from the council. From him. Or maybe not him. Maybe the idea of him. Your work. Your mask. Your voice but cleaner. Smoother. More believable. You fold the paper. Pour a drink. It burns going down, but not as much as the silence afterward. You take off your gloves. Look at your hands. They tremble. And for the first time in months, you don't ask whether you're still the real doctor. You ask if you ever were. You wake before the sun, unsure whether the sound that stirred you came from the street, the attic, or somewhere inside your own head. The quiet that follows isn't peace. It's pressure. like the air itself is holding its breath. There's someone in the room. You don't sit up. Don't speak. You just open your eyes and wait. In the corner, where the light doesn't reach, a figure stands. Cloaked, masked, gloved. For a moment, it looks like a mirror. But no. It's someone else. Someone worse. Your papers, they say. Your heart doesn't race. It hasn't in weeks. You reach beneath the mattress. Pull out your license. Forged. Convincing. Good enough for most. Usually. They take it. Look it over without comment. The silence stretches long enough to make the attic feel smaller. You've seen too much, they finally say. You nod. Not because you agree, but because you understand. They leave the way they came. Without another word. You sit up slowly. Your breath fogs the inside of the mask, and the floorboard still creaks from where they stood. You wonder if it was a warning. Or a goodbye. You sit with a blank sheet in your lap. Not for names. Not today. Just a place to keep count. Small lines. One for each visit. One for every promise made. Every lie told. Every coin taken. You draw until the ink fades. 27. Before the quill snaps. You start again. Not because it matters, but because it feels like it should. This time, you don't write anything. You just stare. You wonder how many marks it takes to equal a sin. Or to erase one. Outside, the fog presses in from every corner of the street, and somewhere nearby, a church bell rings offbeat, like a drunk trying to remember a prayer. You rise. Stretch. Your back cracks in a way it didn't last week. At the basin, you wash your face with water that's gone cold. It smells faintly of mint. Habit, not healing. You pull on your robe, still damp from yesterday. Gloves next. Then the mask. The leather sticks slightly. The beak feels heavier now. Or maybe your neck is just tired of holding it. You check your satchel. Vials. Paper. Herbs that do nothing. Coins that do. You step outside into a world that no longer flinches at your shape. Dogs dig through what's left in the alleys, and children sell prayers like fruit, cheap and bruised. Someone calls you doctor. You nod, because you have to. You are. Technically. You hear him before you see him. Footsteps too crisp. Fabric that still dares to swish. The kind of self-importance that announces itself. He rounds the corner of the old chapel like he owns it. Robe clean. Mask polished. Eyes sharp behind glass that hasn't seen ash or blood. You're doing it wrong, he says. No greeting. Just judgment. You let him talk. About proper procedures. Updated techniques. How the body must be treated as a system. He says humors. Like it still means something. He says public duty. Like he's in a play. He gestures to his bag, filled with rosemary and rules. You gesture to your coat, which smells of old sweat and truth. You can't just sell things and walk away, he says. Why not? He blinks like the question offends him. Later, you hear he took 20 patients that day. Personally. Proudly. 18 died. 2 disappeared. You send a short note. A condolence. And a bill. You find him just after dusk, standing at the edge of a fresh pit, leaning on his shovel like it's both a cane and a weapon. his spine bent and his mouth already half smiling. He wears no mask. Says it muffles the whistling. And you believe him. You again, he says, without looking up. Good. Been saving my best for you. He gestures down at the trench. It's already 3 bodies deep and far from finished. Heard this one? He goes on. A priest, a corpse, and a plague doctor walk into a tavern. No punchline. Just silence. You don't laugh. He does. Gravel in his throat, full of the kind of joy that only comes from shoveling death until the world becomes a joke you're in on. You offer him what's left in a bottle. A tonic in name only, half full of vinegar and prayer. He shrugs, takes it, and nods at a body near his boots. This one still has most of his fingers. You don't ask who it was. You never do. Do you keep count? He asks, tossing a bone over his shoulder like a man skipping stones. No. You answer. Me neither. Just wait. He lifts the next corpse with a grunt and lets it fall. Lighter than last week, he says. You nod, not because it matters, but because some part of you still reacts like it should. That means something. You offer. He spits into the dirt. Means there's nothing left worth taking. You leave, before he can tell another joke. His laughter follows you down the hill. Quiet at first, then louder. A sound that sticks in your ears longer than it should. You tell yourself you need something bitter. Something bottled. And someone who won't ask questions. Her shop leans a little to the left, the walls giving in, like everything else in this city. Inside, the air is thick. A mix of dried herbs, boiled roots, and the sharp tang of old vinegar. She looks up from a scale, eyes narrow, mouth flat. Thought you were dead, she mutters. Not yet, you say. She grunts, returns to weighing powder that doesn't matter. Shame. I owe you money. You hand over a few coins for a pouch of dried marigold and some crushed chalk. You won't use either, but buying them keeps the story intact. The one where you're still doing your job. She gives you a vial of something green. It doesn't move, but it looks like it wants to. What is it? You ask. Confidence. She replies without blinking. You smile under the mask, but it doesn't last. She turns back to her pot. Something dark boiling in the corner, the smell strong enough to sting. Still feeding them lies? She says. Still selling yours? She shrugs, tossing a handful of powder into the pot. They want miracles. I give them jars. You nod once. I give them words. She spits into the fire. It hisses loud and mean. Same thing. It starts with a knock. Not the loud, panicked kind you're used to. Not the desperate hammering of someone clutching a dying loved one. But something smaller, measured. A rhythm of 1, 2. Pause. Then 1 again. You don't move at first. You already know. You open the door and find him standing there. The boy. He's thinner than before. His cloak little more than rags now, hanging from shoulders that barely hold their shape. His eyes are wide and too bright, fever burning behind them, and in his hands he holds a bundle of something you don't care to name, and a boot that probably isn't his. Doctor, he says, just before the cough grabs him. Deep and rough, torn from someplace low in his chest. You say nothing. Just look at him. You remember the alley. The corpse. The ring you told him to leave behind. The vial you gave him. Wine and vinegar with a name scraped off and a lie handed over. He holds up the empty bottle. You said hope. He says. I drank it. You nod, because you don't know what else to do. He takes a step forward, wobbles, then drops. His knees give out so fast it looks like the ground opened to take him, and your hands move before your thoughts do. He weighs almost nothing. Less than your bag, less than your silence. You bring him inside without a word. There's no fire in the stove. There hasn't been for days. Still, you sit him beside it, prop him up against a sack of old cloth, and pour water into a chipped bowl. He tries to drink, but it spills, most of it sliding down his chin and soaking into his shirt, a shirt that clearly belonged to someone bigger, maybe someone still dead. You said I wouldn't live, he mutters, wiping his mouth with a sleeve that sags past his fingers. You remember the words. Worse. Hope. And you remember saying them without a second thought. He reaches into his coat and pulls out a small coin. Dented. Dirty. The kind no one accepts unless they're too tired to argue. I earned this, he says. Didn't steal it. You nod again, slower this time. Words feel too heavy. I want a real tonic. You move toward your satchel and open it, fingers moving through habit. There are 4 vials. 2 are vinegar and wine. The usual. 1 is real medicine, barely. The last is just wine, and you almost drink it yourself. You pause, glance back. He's still watching. You have to pick, he says. You hand him the 3rd, the only one with anything close to value. It won't save him, but it might give him time. He drinks without blinking, without asking again. Later, you ask where he's been. He tells you he slept in the graveyard once. Not under the ground, but on it, because the earth was warm and the dead didn't ask questions. He spent a day with thieves, but left them when they tried to steal a baby's shoes. The boots he took off a corpse. He sold them. Didn't fit. He shrugs. You ask why he came back. He scratches at his arm, red spots starting to bloom, and says, didn't know where else to go. He doesn't ask for pity. Just a place to sit. So you give him yours. Why do you still do it? He asks, and his voice is tired, not angry. You don't even believe in it. You glance down. Somewhere along the way, you'd put your gloves back on. Because no one else will, you answer. He lies down on your cot. You don't stop him. He's asleep before he hits the straw. He stays for 2 days. You don't tell anyone. You tell yourself it's kindness. That it doesn't matter. That no one is coming for him anyway. On the 2nd night, he asks to see under your mask. You shake your head. Just once, he says. No. He laughs. Quiet and dry. I think you're just bones under there. Bones and herbs and old breath. You almost tell him he's right. Instead, you pour another cup of wine. He coughs again. You both pretend not to hear it. The 3rd morning, he's gone. Your coin pouch is lighter. 1 vial is missing. The real one. You feel the sting rise fast in your chest. A hot rush of anger, sharp and stupid. But then it fades. He took the only thing that mattered. The only thing that might still work. You sit on the edge of the cot. There's something tucked under the blanket. You reach down. Pull it free. The same empty bottle you gave him. The one you filled with hope and nothing. It's been cleaned. Wrapped in cloth. Left behind like a thank you. You hold it in your hand. It's still warm. That afternoon, a woman knocks. She holds a coin and tells you her son is sick. Her hands are shaking. You look at the bottle in your hand. Then you go to the table. Mix a new tonic. More wine this time. No vinegar. It won't fix anything. But it tastes like trying. And when she asks what it will do, you tell her the truth. It won't cure him, you say. She nods. She already knows. She takes the bottle. And you don't charge her. The estate rises above the city, like it was built to ignore everything beneath it. Golden windows catching light that doesn't reach the streets. Marble lions standing guard at a gate taller than any church. Inside, it is quiet. Not with peace, but with fear that has been dressed in silk. Servants lead you through the halls without speaking, their eyes low, their steps soft like they're afraid to wake something. The nobleman meets you in the foyer. He smells of sweat hidden under brandy and perfume, and his voice trembles beneath his pride. My wife, he says, just a cough. Nothing serious, but we must be sure. Precautions. You understand. You do. They take you to a room drowning in perfume, the air so thick it makes your throat tighten. His wife is sitting, barely upright, in a chair too large for her, draped in fabrics meant to distract from the truth. That her skin is too pale, her breaths too shallow, her body already retreating. She was laughing this morning, he says. We ate figs. She is not laughing now. You approach without speaking. You don't need to say anything. The signs are clear, written across her face, just beneath the powder. You perform the ritual anyway. Not for her, but for him. The burning herbs. The muttered words. The slow wave of a scented pouch through the air. He gives you a heavy pouch before you even speak. You take it without counting. Will she recover? He asks, voice breaking in the silence. You nod. Yes. But she won't. He cries as you leave, and you do not stop him. By morning, the house is gone. Fire leaves no questions. You find a chapel at the edge of the quarter, forgotten and broken, where the doors hang loose on their hinges and the stained glass has fallen like colored ash across the floor. Rain slides in through holes in the roof. The wood beneath you creaks as you sit in the back pew, not from rot, but from memory. A cat appears. Thin, gray, missing one eye. It watches you from the aisle and does not blink. You take off your gloves slowly. Flex your fingers. Look at your own skin, cracked and pale, as if the gloves were the only thing holding it together. You do not speak. You do not pray. You don't remember how. You sit in silence until it grows too heavy, until the wind begins whispering names you don't want to hear. Then you stand. The cat follows. The streets are quiet now. Not safe. Just done talking. You find him crouched beside the body of a mason. The boy is thin, fast, and looks like he hasn't blinked in days. One hand is on the dead man's boot, already halfway laced free. He sees you. Freezes. Doesn't run. You don't raise your voice. Don't chase. You just point. Take the boots, you say. Leave the ring. He nods and works quickly. You reach into your coat and offer him a bottle. He looks at it like it might bite. Poison? Worse. You tell him. Hope. He takes it, drinks it without asking again, wipes his mouth, and slips into the shadows. You remain where you are, the wind tugging at your robe, carrying the smell of smoke and something older. You wonder if the boy will live. You wonder if it matters. Then you keep walking. You pass a broken window on your way home, and something about it stops you. The glass is dirty, warped with age, its frame sagging, yet it still manages to reflect just enough. Your black robe, the long-beaked mask, the fogged lenses that blur your eyes even from the inside. You don't look like a man. You look like something else entirely. You tilt your head, and the shape in the glass does the same. You stand there for a moment longer than you mean to, trying to remember how long it's been since you saw your own face. Not the mask. You. Your hand rises without thinking, fingers brushing the strap near your neck. You pause. You lower your hand. You never take it off. You're not sure what's left underneath. The knock comes before the sun. You haven't slept, but you're dressed. When you open the door, the man standing there doesn't say a word. He simply presses a folded letter into your palm, the wax seal heavy and unfamiliar, the kind usually kept for contracts or executions. You follow him without speaking. The streets are quiet, covered in fog that hangs low, curling against doors and windows like it wants in. He walks fast, always a few steps ahead. You don't ask where you're going. The house is tall, impossibly clean. No scent of smoke or sweat. No open cracks. You're led inside to a room where the curtains are drawn tight, and the candles flicker softly, like they know this is not a place for noise. She's young. Her skin pale, almost shining, lips dry, eyes just barely open when you enter. Everything about her room smells like roses and effort. You check her pulse, her breath, her tongue. Slow, practiced movements that feel more like a dance than care. Her maid watches from the corner with hands clenched in her apron. You take out a vial. It's the strongest one you have, mostly wine this time. No vinegar. No herbs. Just the warmth of something that feels like comfort. You lift her head, help her drink. She swallows. Her eyes close. You turn to the family and lie as easily as breathing. She'll recover. You know she won't. But they pay you double. You take it. You don't run. You walk out slowly, not because you're tired, though you are, but because rushing would make it real. You can't remember her name by the time you reach the gate. You tell yourself that's a kindness. That forgetting is part of the job. That it has to be. Back in the attic, the sky outside is the color of old bruises. The shutters creak with every breath the wind takes, and for a long time, you just stand there with your hand on the doorknob, not sure what comes next. You take off the robe first, peeling it away like skin that no longer fits. The gloves come next, stiff from the sweat that never dries. Then the mask. Heavy, warm, shaped like something that once meant protection and now just means distance. You set it on the chair. It doesn't fall. It just sits there, watching you the way it always has. You count the coins. The new ones from today. The old ones you never spent. The ones that came with names you didn't bother to ask for. You drink the last of the wine. It's sharp and sweet and doesn't burn enough. You lie down, not because you want to sleep, but because there's nothing left to do. Tomorrow. You'll rise. You'll tighten the mask. You'll offer the same words. Trade the same bottle for the same silence. And maybe, just maybe, you'll forget one more name. You close your eyes. And somewhere beneath you, the city exhales.